Good evening, you fantastic and glorious degenerates of this floating rock that we call Earth. Welcome to Off the Wire. I am your host, Noella Lynn, aka the Cajun Libertarian. So, what do we have planned for tonight? A couple of horror stories coming out of our tyrannical police state. It is truly tragic and disgusting. Warning, the video that I will play is absolutely disturbing, NFSW, and graphic. So, please beware. That'll be coming up on the second story of tonight's show. So before we get started, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Hit me up on YouTube. Hit the notifications bell so that every time I go live, you will know about it. Same with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Leave me a 5-star review and follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Please and thank you. Let's get going.
The game plan of You Are the Power is pretty simple. We find people.
My bad. Wrong clip. Yes, indeed. Let's get started, you glorious and intelligent and educated degenerates. So, first up, let me say this real quick. Sorry. New sponsor for the show, a good friend, somebody that's been following me for a long time. We follow each other on Twitter. He watches and retweets every show, comments on every show, an absolute fan and contributor to the Liberty Movement, is putting his money where his mouth is, and now is a sponsor for the show. Please go follow him on Twitter. It's @_infinite zeal. @_infinite zeal. ZEAL. And then obviously you can spell infinite. You guys are very smart. So I trust you to do that. Go check out the link in his bio too, please. For those listening later, that's why I spell it out the way I do. ZEAL. Infinite zeal. Just in case there was any confusion, if you're like me on some of these words that sound goofy and you're like, okay, I know how to spell this. I've spelled it for years. And then you get in your brain and you're like, that doesn't sound like you're supposed to spell it that way. Anyway, @_infinite zeal. Thank you, my friend, for sponsoring the show. And thank you for being such a great supporter of this movement. Now, let's get started. First up, this is from CNN, April 7th. New Mexico police shot and killed a man after they went to the wrong house while responding to a domestic violence call. How many more times are we going to have to hear about these stories? The next one's even worse. Authorities are investigating the shooting of a man killed by police at his northwestern New Mexico home after they arrived at the wrong address, police said. Robert Dotson, 52, was killed Wednesday night by police officers with the Farmington Police Department after they received a call reporting a domestic violence incident around 11:30 p.m. and went to his house instead of the one across the street. According to local and state police, quote, "I am just heartbroken. Mr. Dotson was not the subject of this call," Farmington Police Chief Steve Hebe said during a Thursday video statement posted on Facebook. "This ending is just unbelievably tragic. I'm extremely sorry that we're in this position." But are you, though? Are you? Are you? Why are you just shooting people? Let's continue before I lose my ish this early in the episode. And let's see if we can get some context here. There's no context. You shot an innocent man. Again, you're not sorry. You're a despicable tyrant. Upon arriving to the neighborhood in Farmington, which is about 150 miles northwest of Albuquerque, officers, quote, mistakenly approached 5305. Yeah, I shouldn't. Why would you publish the address? You idiots. Instead of, so it's 5305 Street instead of 5308 Street. New Mexico State Police said in a statement on Thursday. After no one answered their knocks on the door, police officers asked the dispatch to call the person who reported the incident and asked them to come to the front door. At some point, Dotson opened the door of his home while armed with a handgun, and at least one officer shot at least one round from their gun, striking and killing Dotson at the scene, according to state police citing body camera footage. You're allowed to have a gun. You just because you decided to wear a costume to make a paycheck and violate every freaking every bit of your oath to the Constitution. You can get into the semantics and the specifics of how that is later, but it's absolutely 1000% true. If you write one speeding ticket, you violated your oath. Now, conservatives can hate that, but it's true. These people aren't your friends. They are tyrants. This man in his home answering the door with his gun because he don't know who's at the door, police or otherwise, doesn't matter. He's allowed to do it. Then he gets shot and murdered for it. Quote, once again, officers fired. Once she realized that the individuals outside the residence were officers, she put the gun down and complied with the officers' commands, state police said in their statement. Oh, sorry, I missed a sentence. Armed with a handgun, Dotson's wife exchanged gunfire with officers, but she was not injured, authorities said. So good on her, I guess. Why is she in this position? Now she's got a dead husband. She's going to have to go to court because you incompetent tyrants cannot do anything right except extort and murder people. You do that really well. At what point do we actually start to entertain the idea that these people are enemies of the state? Well, enemies of the people of this country. Revelatory newsflash, I came to that realization a long time ago. And I'm sure most of you have as well. But what are we going to do about it? Yes, ending qualified immunity is a great start. That cannot be the final answer. They're going to keep doing this. At some point, we need to figure out a better solution than simply hashtagging in qualified immunity. Real action needs to be held here. Need to be taken, and real accountability needs to be held. Armed with a handgun, Dotson's wife exchanged gunfire with the officer, but she was not injured, authorities said. Quote, once again, officers fired. Once she realized that the individuals outside the residence were officers, she put the gun down and complied with the officer's command. State police said in their statement, the responding officers who were not injured in the shooting will not be publicly identified by the state police, according to their statement. You can't even get these people to acknowledge who the murderers were. We have to do better than hashtag in qualified immunity. And I'm with it. In qualified immunity yesterday, they shouldn't have never had it in the first place. But more has to be done. More has to be done. The responding officers who were not injured in the shooting will not be publicly identified. It's unclear how many officers were at the scene at the time of the shooting or how many fired their guns. It's also unclear whether Dodson fired at the officers at all before police shot and killed him. CNN has filed a public records request with the New Mexico State Police for the body camera footage. The video of the shooting is expected to be released within a week, Hebe said Thursday. Quote, there's nothing I can say that will make this better. It's a terrible event, and I'm heartbroken over it. Hebe is the sheriff. Let me make sure he's the sheriff. Let me go back, because if he is, then police chief. I don't know. You might be able to vote this tyrant out, because if you're encouraging your staff to do this, you're at fault. The buck stops with you, the leader. You have encouraged and allowed these people to act this way. Every officer involved should go to prison. If they fired their gun, even one round, they all need to go to prison for life. No possibility of parole. Real accountability. How else are you going to deal with it? How else are you going to deter these tyrants from murdering innocent people because their incompetent, moronic selves showed up at the wrong house? There are no excuses for this. And I'm sick of your time. Man, am I sick of your excuses for making trying to justify these totalitarian tyrants. Leave it there because I got to do better about controlling my language. I have done a lot better over the last few months, for sure. For sure. Life in prison, no parole. That's how you deter it. And if it means less cops entering the force, freaking men. Good riddance. Open up the 2A all the way. From the top to the bottom, it'll make all the guns cheaper and the ammunition cheaper. By extension, by default. Let people defend themselves. It's just, and this is all because of a domestic violence dispute. That wasn't, of course, obviously the real problem is it's not even his house. They were too stupid to show up at the right house and then murdered an innocent man, almost murdered his wife, all because they were defending their property. The shooting is currently under investigation by the New Mexico State Police. The agency's investigations bureau has been requested to probe the incident, state police said. Wednesday's fatal police shooting occurred a day after a similar controversial case of authorities targeting the wrong location. FBI and U.S. Army tactical personnel. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, no, that's right. FBI and U.S. Army tactical personnel conducting training exercises in Boston on Tuesday raided the wrong hotel room. This is talking about going to the wrong place. Detaining an innocent Delta Airlines employee based on what authorities described as, quote unquote, inaccurate information. Quote, conducting special operations in urban environments always has been a training challenge, end quote, said CNN law enforcement analyst John Miller. Now, he even got CNN making excuses for these clowns. Quote, the only way to replicate those challenges to operational security is to practice in real urban environments. Yeah, on real people. Abolish them. Just get rid of them. Get rid of them. They said police do not stop crimes. They don't prevent crimes. They only respond to them. In the domestic dispute, was the domestic violence stopped? No, they were responding to it, went to the wrong house, and murdered somebody. Just get rid of them. Get rid of them. We can do this incrementally so to not cause harm, especially in poor and urban areas where cops are actually needed. And you have the theft system of tax, so there's no shortage of money. There is just a shortage of accountability. We can actually even keep the police, and you can actually disarm the vast majority of them because they don't need firearms. Because this is what happens. This can be done over the course of the next 50 years if we even have that long. Step by step, incrementally get rid of this stuff. That's the answer. While in the meantime, in the short time, prison for life. You have a special honor and a special level of trust not given to hardly anyone else in this country. I guess not given to anyone else in this country. So when you violate that trust, extreme repercussions is the only answer so that you do not violate that trust again. Everyone involved, including whoever was planning this logistically and got the address wrong, everyone needs to serve a sentence. And whoever murdered the guy, you need to spend life in prison without parole. Period. Because that'll stop the next cop from just shooting at somebody because they answered the door of their own house with a firearm because they don't know who's at the door. And even if they knew you were cops, you can't shoot him for having a firearm. Not supposed to be able to anyway. Jeez. All right. That's about enough of that article there. Let's go on to the more even worse and disgusting one. But before we do that, I want to just give you a reminder. Now, I started this during the COVID tyranny. That's what was the final straw that broke the camel's back for me. And so, as long as you continue to hire me, because again, this is an elected position, you vote me in with your time as the show continues to grow. So as long as you continue to hire me, if I'm another 50 years on this show, well, I'll be 90, so that ain't gonna work. Another 20 years. Let's be realistic. On the last show, 20 years later, I will talk about COVID tyranny because we can never forget and we can never, ever allow anything like this to happen again.
Not getting vaccines, it's time to start shaming them.
Because frankly, we know that we can't trust the unvaccinated.
F them, f their freedom. I want my freedom to live.
No, screw your freedom. You're a schmuck for not wearing a mask.
We have to stop coddling the morons who will not get the shot.
Shame on you.
No mask, get out!
Put on your mask or get off.
Never forget and never forgive. Not the people individually, forgive the people individually, but the system that created this. No, there will be no amnesty. We will never forget. And as long as I have a voice in this sphere, I will continue to expose things like this.
Individuals are allowed to make their own choices. There may be all sorts of different reasons why someone is hesitant to get vaccinated. There's no more excuses to not get your shot. And therefore, while not forcing anyone to get vaccinated, enforcement measures in place will make sure that everyone is vaccinated. I chose to make sure that all the incentives, travelers across the country need to be fully vaccinated. People coming into the country need to be fully vaccinated. We're there, don't get to work in the public service, don't get to go to movie theaters or gyms or restaurants, to encourage Canadians to get vaccinated. And that's exactly what they did.
These people have no shame in lying straight to your face. Don't buy it. I know most of you don't, but share this stuff. Share this show. Because that's how we will win. More people becoming awake, quote unquote, red pilled. It's not a Republican thing, it's a Matrix thing. I will not stop leaving that alone. It's ridiculous to call that Republican. Even the Republicans are doing it, conservatives. No, it's awake. It's a Matrix reference.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Yes, indeed. One of the best movies ever made. Red pills for everyone. for everyone. Let's wake up and get out of the matrix. Now, the Justin Trudeau video was courtesy of Spike Cohen's Twitter account. So obviously you want to follow him at Real Spike Cohen. Probably every one of y'all do already because he's vastly more popular than him. Which brings me to the video I actually accidentally started the show off with. You Are the Power. You need to go follow them right now. Subscribe and
The
get your
game
newsletter.
plan of You Are the Power is pretty simple. We find people who are being harmed or abused or neglected or mistreated by their local governments. And yeah, this is my life's work. We want to help people.
This is something that has already began to affect real change. This isn't some distant, futuristic, utopian dream. It's already happening. It's making its course. It's making waves right now as we speak.
If you want to learn how to become an effective activist and then to do actual activism and actually help people now, not wait for, like you said, some distant utopian future where libertarians take over the world and leave everyone alone. If you want to do that now, that's what we're doing. This next year is going to be the year that people see what liberty actually looks like. Not what it sounds like, not what our philosophy is, but what the actual results and idea, what the solutions behind what we do. So that's what I'm doing with You Are the Power. I would love for you to be a part of it. YouAreThePower.net. We'd love for you to become a member. And yeah, this is my life's work.
Yes, indeed. YouAreThePower.net. YouAreThePower.net. On Twitter, it's at YATP official. So go sign up for free at youarethepower.net and get a daily newsletter on what Spike and company are doing. They're making absolutely massive or stacking absolutely massive wins all across the country and continue to do so and can continue to go even further with your help and mine included. So please, youarethepower.net. Now, real quick, a little bit of police corruption, and then we're going to get to our last story a little bit. The whole show is about tyrannical police state. Here's just one more example. Mentally ill inmate was eaten alive by bugs in filthy cell. Family says, this is from The Blaze, April 16th. The family of a man who died in a Georgia jail cell says he was eaten alive by bugs. The Washington Post reported on Friday. Quote, the cell he was in was not fit for a diseased animal. This is inexcusable and it's deplorable. The family attorney, Michael Harper, said at a news conference on Thursday. LaShawn Thompson, 35, was found dead in his cell in September 2022 with, quote, extremely severe infestation of small insects across his body, the Post reported, citing an autopsy report. He had been in custody in the psychiatric wing of the Fulton County Jail for about 3 months on a misdemeanor battery charge. He's in jail for 3 months over a misdemeanor. Jesus. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office said the manner and cause of Thompson's death is undetermined, according to a document obtained by CNN. Quote, other conditions listed on the report included schizoaffective disorder and bipolar and acute exacerbation, end quote. So I'm not saying this guy didn't need to be monitored, right? But what do you need him in jail for? You can put him on house arrest? What? None of this is at all effective. It's extremely dangerous, and we're killing people. Literally. Harper says Thompson was physically healthy when he was booked into jail. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office, which runs the jail, said a, quote, full investigation has been launched, according to a statement acquired by WSB TV. The statement extends condolences to Thompson's family. The statement goes on to detail actions FCSO is taking with respect in improving conditions, to improve conditions. The immediate actions listed include spending $500,000 to address bed bugs, lice, and other vermin, and updating security rounds to address sanitary conditions. Quote, it's no secret that the dilapidated and rapidly eroding conditions of the current facility make it incredibly difficult to meet the goal of providing a clean, well-maintained, and healthy environment for all inmates and staff, end quote. The statement also said, adding that Sheriff Labatt supports the call to build a new jail. The family is calling for an investigation of Thompson's death and for the Fulton County Jail to be shut down and replaced. Just $500,000 to address bugs. I run 2/3 of a pest control company. Call me. Like, I'll take that. I'll take that. On a better, hey, capitalism for the win, right? Unfortunately, it comes off the story of a dead person. that was spending 3 months in jail for a misdemeanor. Could have just been monitored at home. Unbelievable. All right, now for our last and most horrific story of the night. As if the other ones haven't been horrific, but this one has a video and it truly wrecked my guts. And so, warning, when I do show the video, please understand that it is very graphic and it is very, very disturbing. And so if you don't have the heart or stomach for it, you might want to, just look away when I start to play the video. It's rough. All right. Utah police footage shows barrage of gunfire that killed 25-year-old during a traffic stop. CBS, March 8th. A traffic stop. They murdered a man at the wrong house for a domestic violence dispute that they weren't preventing, only responding to. And they killed another kid at a traffic stop. Police in Farmington, Utah released body cam footage Wednesday that captured the barrage of gunfire which killed a 25-year-old man during a traffic stop last week. Chase Allen was pulled over by Farmington police on March 1st around 3:20 p.m. near a post office after an officer spotted an illegal license plate, a placard with a flag on Allen's blue BMW. Farmington police chief. Is this the same? Oh my God. 1 second. Nope. Different Farmington. That one's New Mexico. This one's Utah. All right. I had to check that. My bad. Farmington Police Chief Eric Johnson, that's spelled weird, said during a press conference on Wednesday, he was talking about the plaque with the flag and the illegal license plate. There is no law in which the state will not kill you to enforce an illegal license plate. So let's knock that right out the way, because I don't care what's in the video in regards to if there was or wasn't a firearm. I don't care if the kid was or wasn't complying. Irrelevant. They do not de-escalate whatsoever. They escalate because they're egomaniacal, psychopathic tyrants. That's what they do. And I'm going to prove it. So miss me with your trash about, he should have just complied. Oh, yeah, just do what you're told with the boot on your throat while you're gasping for air like George Floyd. Well, I'm sick of it. I'm done. I'm sick of it. There is no defense for these people anymore. There really hasn't been for a long, long time, but I'm hoping to reach a different demographic that's going to wake up to this tyrannical nonsense. You're flying a thin blue flag sign in the yard, along with a thin a Gadsden flag at the same time. You're a moron. These people are the boot. Farmington Police Chief Eric Johansson, already said that. During the press conference, Johansson told reporters that officers started to shoot after they saw Allen reach down, but also said that it is unclear exactly what happened in those brief seconds because the body camera's view is unclear. The footage, a compilation video of 5 body-worn police cameras and a single dashboard camera, shows a police car following Allen's BMW into a parking lot. The officer parks behind Allen's car, walks over to it, and taps on the driver's window. Allen cracks open the window while holding a cell phone. The reason you were stopped today is there is no registration on your vehicle, the officer tells Allen in the video. He says, I don't need registration and I don't answer questions, Allen replies, which is the right response. Do not answer questions. All right. Again, big warning. Very disturbing, very graphic. Here's the short version of this video.
Step out of this vehicle right now.
Then we're going to have an issue
where step out of the car right now.
Don't step out of the car. We're going to break the window and pull you out. Step out of the car.
Gun. Cease fire.
We got shots fired.
I cannot tell you how disgusting that is and how heartbroken that is. That's one of the most egregious videos I've seen in a long time. And I'll tell you why. Because I know that kid's dying right there on the spot because you can hear the engine revving and then dying. Just like him. All because these people couldn't put their ego aside and their arrogance aside to just say, you know what? It's a registration. Just go. Just go. Or just give them a ticket and leave. How many? You had that many officers? For what? You're disgusting. And every officer in that video needs to be put in jail for life. And if I wasn't so adamantly against the death penalty, I would literally advocate for them to be frog marched through town with a walk of shame, with fruit, like the old days, with fruit and whatever else non-lethal objects could be thrown at you so to physically, painfully hurt you and then hanged publicly. If there were any justice and I didn't adamantly oppose the death penalty, that would be the answer. You murdered a kid because he didn't pay the state $25 or $35 for a sticker to put on your license plate. And because he's telling you, I'm not getting out of the car, I don't feel safe, just give me a ticket or move on. I'm not going to answer questions. You threatened to break the window. You broke into the car. And then you murdered him. Let's hear a little bit of the conversation. I think this is very important. Quote, the reason you were stopped today is there is no registration on your vehicle, the officer tells Alan in the video. Alan says, I don't need registration and I don't answer questions. Alrighty, the officer says, and then proceeds to call backup. From the jump, he got offended. This is what it is. And they don't feel any remorse and they don't feel any responsibility to hold back even in the slightest bit because we have no accountability on these disgusting, horrible human beings that walk around with a legal license to kill and throw you in a jail cell in a cage for life and framing you for it at the same time, many times. The officer and Alan go back and forth about why he was pulled over. So what? What are you going back and forth with? Issue the ticket and leave. But no, that's not good enough. You must obey everything I tell you to do because I'm the one in authority. You have no business being in any position of authority whatsoever. You need to spend the rest of your life in a cage and doing hard labor. No parole. None. He continues to ask for identification. Alan can be heard citing that he claims are legal arguments for his refusal to provide one. I understand what you were saying, the officer replies, but you are lawfully required to identify yourself. You're actually not. So the kid did everything right. And he got murdered for it. He then continues to ask for identification. Alan can be heard citing what he claims are legal arguments for his refusal to provide one. Now, personally, because of videos like this, give him your ID and let him give you the ticket. Just take the ticket, and let us work out this stuff later so we don't have to lobby for accountability on the back of your dead body. Stay alive. The ticket is what you have to deal with, then deal with the ticket for now while we work to fix this stuff and what can be fixed. More argument ensues before Alan hands the officer a passport. The officer then orders Alan to step out of the vehicle. You don't have the authority to do that. At this point, video shows other officers have arrived at the scene. So he literally complied, gave him identification, and it's all egomaniacal, psychopathic, tyrannical, or tyranny. That's what it is. Full stop. There is no argument here. None whatsoever. Prison, life, no parole, hard labor for every officer on that scene. Period. Non-negotiable. We're not having the conversation any longer. If we can't do that, you're going to keep having kids being murdered over a sticker that cost $35. That he was probably legally correct to do. I can guarantee you, as the reports come out, we're going to follow this. He was probably like in sort of like the window of registry, because you get a window. And he complied, getting the passport. Why? Just give him the ticket. Nope, not good enough. He was the slightest bit combative. So full onslaught of aggression by people that you pay their salary. He is still wearing his seatbelt and holding his cell phone. I'm not required to, Allen tells the police, talking about getting out of the car. The body cam footage then stops and highlights what police allege is a holster on Mr. Allen's hip. The holster is flexing upwards, quote unquote, as seen through the driver's window, police said. Allen, who is wearing a khaki coat and a trucker hat, still refuses to step out when another officer warns him that if he doesn't comply, we're going to break the window and pull you out. And then that's where the video starts for us. And that's enough. Allen's then seen transferring his cell phone from his left hand to his right hand as an officer opens the driver's door. The police video then stops to highlight what it claims is Allen's right hand moving toward the holster. How? You just literally said that he transferred his cell phone from his left hand to his right hand, but he's going to pull a gun out of his holster with a cell phone in his hand? Make it make sense. No, you're lying because you're trying to cover. Because you disgusting, egomaniacal, lying tyrants. That's why. The police video then stops to highlight what it claims, and I already said that. As another officer wearing a beanie leans into the front seat and tries to get Allen, one of the officer yells, "Gun, gun, gun." The police officer slams the door shut, and 5 officers are seen drawing their weapons and rapidly firing several rounds at the car. The 5 officers involved in the shooting have not been identified. Now listen to this. Quote, "I feel like they deserve privacy right now." Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know who deserved privacy? The 25-year-old young man that you murdered for extortion. That's who deserved their privacy. With a vehicle that's supposed to be the extension of your home, which apparently doesn't matter either, because you can just show up at the wrong house and murder some man who opens the door. You want to talk about Gestapo, Stasi, 1930s Germany, East Russia? What else you want to say? This isn't America. It is now, if we don't do something about it fast. I feel like they deserve privacy. I want to throw up right now. Not literally, but Allen's family has accused the police of brutal murder, quote unquote. Yes, you are correct, family. Saying they have been stonewalled, quote unquote, by the department. According to a statement released to local media last week, Allen's family said he was, quote, studying law the last few years and was a patriot doing what he could to defend the people's freedom and liberty in his community, end quote. According to the Salt Lake Tribune. Been studying law the last few years. Imagine that. More than likely, as this report comes out, if we even get the rest of it, you'll find out that the kid was 100% right. And this was all due to arrogance and ego. And that's it. And that's what 99% of these cases are. While you defend these disgusting people who don't care about you, they hate your guts. They're meeting quotas. They're trying to catch you doing anything so that they can write a ticket to get a pay raise. Because if they make enough, they get raises. You do enough extortion on the behalf, at the behest of the state, and bring in more money for an already tyrannical state, you get paid for it. Imagine that. Unbelievable. Absolutely disgusting. 4 of the 5 officers have been with Farmington Police for between 7 and 8 months. And the 5th officer is a 12-year veteran of the department. The status of the officers was not clear, but Joe Henson said he was down 20% of his force and thanked other police departments from helping with daily operations. Well, you need less people, clearly. And at this point, I'd probably call for him too. Feel like they deserve their privacy right now. What? No, you probably should be in jail too. Allen's family has said the officer who pulled him over, quote, requested multiple other officers to the scene a couple of blocks prior to the stop. End quote. According to the Salt Lake Tribune. At the press conference, Joe Henson disputed the family's statement. Quote, I want to point out that there has been a statement and allegation made that backup was called for prior to this. That is absolutely untrue, the police said. Quote, it's a tragic ending to what started out as an everyday traffic stop. Stop the traffic stops. You want another really good answer, officer? Mitigate your interactions with the public. Stop using this excuse as if somehow you're going to find a murderer or a meth dealer because of a registration. Because you know how many times that happens? Like a 0.0000001% of all traffic stops. Now, that's not an actual answer, but it's somewhere close. So no, that's not an excuse at all. Stop pulling people over to extort on behalf of the state. And then when they quote legal law, you get mad because you're an ignorant moron with the ego and arrogance, undeserved ego and arrogance of a tyrant. You disgusting human beings. You're pathetic. I hope you find Jesus, and I hope you find it. Life in prison. And I'm out. Galatians 2:20.